On May 8, 2025, the world watched with bated breath as tensions between India and Pakistan escalated to a fever pitch. The United States initially seemed content to remain on the sidelines. This stance was evident in Vice President JD Vance's interview with Martha MacCallum.
The U.S. should mind its own business when it comes to the conflict brewing in South Asia.
This statement, while consistent with previous pronouncements on foreign policy, would prove to be remarkably short-lived. The catalyst for this sudden shift in American foreign policy remains shrouded in a degree of mystery. On May 9th, just 24 hours after Vance's interview, the U.S. made a decisive intervention into the escalating crisis. National Security Advisor Rubio, a seasoned foreign policy hand, spearheaded the effort, initiating a flurry of phone calls to both Indian and Pakistani leaders. This sudden change in posture was as unexpected as it was dramatic. The reasons behind this abrupt about-face, however, were not immediately apparent. What intelligence had reached Washington that could trigger such a dramatic shift in policy? The answer, it seemed, lay buried somewhere in the shadowy world of intelligence gathering and high-stakes diplomacy. The precise nature of the intelligence that prompted the U.S. to abandon its hands-off approach remains classified. However, leaks and informed speculation paint a worrisome picture. Reports suggest that the U.S. intelligence community had picked up chatter indicating a dramatic escalation in the India-Pakistan conflict. This included the possibility of Pakistan deploying tactical nuclear weapons in a last-ditch attempt to stave off a complete military defeat. The prospect of a nuclear exchange, even on a limited scale, was simply too terrifying to contemplate. Adding to the sense of urgency were reports that India, under the decisive leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, was prepared to respond to any Pakistani aggression with overwhelming force.
Any further provocations by Pakistan would be met with a response that would be more forceful, stronger, devastating.
This combination of factors, the alarming intelligence, the fear of nuclear escalation, and the uncompromising stance of the Indian government, forced the Trump administration to reassess its position. The U.S. could not, in good conscience, stand by and watch as two nuclear-armed neighbors stumbled towards the brink of a catastrophic war. The risks were simply too great, the potential consequences too horrific to contemplate. The U.S.-led diplomatic intervention, though belated, proved decisive in averting a wider conflict. Rubio, working tirelessly behind the scenes, facilitated a dialogue between the Indian and Pakistani governments. The U.S., while not directly involved in drafting the ceasefire agreement, played a crucial role in bringing both sides to the negotiating table. By Saturday morning, May 10th, the guns had fallen silent.
A ceasefire has been reached.
President Trump, in a characteristically boisterous tweet, announced that a ceasefire had been reached, a claim later confirmed by Rubio in a more sober press conference. The ceasefire, while fragile, was a testament to the effectiveness of American diplomacy, even when deployed at the 11th hour. It also underscored the volatile nature of the India-Pakistan relationship, a powder keg that could erupt with little warning. The response to the U.S. intervention was predictably mixed. Pakistan, which had initiated the ceasefire request, praised the Trump administration's role in diffusing the crisis. India, on the other hand, downplayed the significance of American involvement, maintaining that the ceasefire was primarily the result of its own military superiority. This divergence in opinion reflected the long-standing mistrust and rivalry that has characterized the relationship between the two South Asian neighbors. The events of May 2025 served as a stark reminder of the unpredictable and dangerous world in which we live. They also provided a valuable, if unintentional, insight into the evolving nature of American foreign policy under the Trump administration. The initial instinct, as evidenced by Vice President Vance's early pronouncements, was one of detachment, a desire to disengage from the world's problems and focus on domestic priorities. However, the crisis in South Asia demonstrated that such an isolationist approach is often untenable. The U.S., whether it likes it or not, remains the world's indispensable nation. It cannot simply ignore crises that threaten to upend the global order, particularly when those crises involve the specter of nuclear war. The Trump administration's handling of the India-Pakistan crisis, while far from perfect, suggests a willingness to abandon its isolationist instincts when the stakes are high enough. It remains to be seen whether this pragmatic, reactive approach will define American foreign policy in the years to come. One thing, however, is certain. The world is watching, and the U.S. can no longer afford to remain on the sidelines.